Hello, everybody. How you doing? We're here live today, talking with Mr. Hoddinott. But little special treat for everybody this morning. Those of you know I've not been playing the music so much here on the channel. I am phasing the music out, kind of. Part of the reason for that is as many people are here that love Dassey and like hearing his music here. Which I only have myself to blame for that, of course. But anyway, no, we love Dassey, obviously. But I also have an equal amount of folks out there who really liked the way I did things before, where I just kind of got straight to the point and went right in and started diving into the documents or whatever. And so there are people out there that appreciated that. So I'm going to meet it halfway. Occasionally, I'm going to play a Dassey song for everybody, kind of a little treat on Saturday, Sunday mornings maybe or something. But I'm gonna try to get back to my original style for the most part. So this morning we are going to listen to a Dassey song. So here we go. It's a song I really like by Dassey. It Really Matters.
Let's keep talking about Avery. Yeah, let's keep talking till he's set free. Oh, you just listen, I think you'll see why it matters. Really matters. Put aside the documentary, the state's version ludicrousy. Oh, all their claims so blatantly get torn to tatters. I think that matters. I bet you heard about Hoddinott sweat, but maybe you ain't heard this yet. 19 more times the DNA that was left anywhere else that day. I think that matters. I really do. I think it matters. An ex-boyfriend with a day planner page, and yet they did not investigate. And who knows why, and who can say why he was signed into the crime scene that day. I think that matters. I really do. I think it matters. About the barrel that once was seized, but then returned to the Avery. The bones were found.
By the way, Steve Wiz, that's the sign of a great song.
Of where they lay. I think that matters. I really do. I think it matters. I could go on listing things all 80 more things. I just keep on singing these songs till Avery freedom rings. I said it matters. It really, I know it matters. It could be you, I think it matters. It could be me, I know it matters. Work with KZ, it matters. I said it matters. It really matters.
All right. So that's It Really Matters by Dassey Seabrook. For those of you who haven't heard that before, which I saw a couple of people in the chat saying they hadn't, that's easily one of my Dassey Seabrook favorites now. It's one he just put out recently, but it's definitely now among my favorites. Those of you who don't know, Dassey's now featured on Kathleen Zoner's website. She actually included him, a little link to him and his songs on her homepage, on her website. Encourage everybody to go check that out. You know, all the noise we create, obviously, in this case, helps. I mean, Stacy was even recently shared by Michael Griesbach. You know, even Michael Griesbach decided to give Stacy a nod. So Stacy's doing great. He's really, you know, starting to create a lot of awareness in the case, starting to bring, I think, new people to the fold with, you know, his style of, you know, support with his music and that sort of stuff. And like I say, Stacy's no slouch. He's been all through these documents like many of us, and it's clear when you listen to his songs. So, hello, Mark. How you doing?
Good morning from downtown Manitowoc. I'm a bit dusty this morning. A big day yesterday.
Yeah. That's Yep. I know we're going to get to that and talk a little bit about that, obviously, here. But you know, so those of you who don't know, part of the reason why I decided to have a little talk with Mark today is, well, I was pretty busy yesterday. As some of you know, I uploaded 3 different videos yesterday, 1 to my other channel and 2 to my, well, not uploaded, but anyway, I did a live and an upload yesterday, and I did an upload on my other channel, so I was pretty busy. But after I was done with all that, I went on Facebook and saw this guy right here in a picture on Sandra Greenman's post standing with me. And I'm like, hey, I know that guy.
How did that happen?
So I thought we'd have a little chat with you and find out what you got to talk to Steven about, or, you know, find out what was, you know, maybe a little bit, obviously, maybe, you know, if there's anything sensitive, we can't, you know, but if there's anything you got to talk about with Steven that was a little fun or whatever, or, you know, we'd love to hear, you know, a little bit about Steven's spirits and, you know, what you kind of got to experience there.
Yeah, sure. Well, probably for background benefit, I'll give you the context in which I happened to see Steven yesterday. It was a planned thing, of course, because you have to be on his visitors list to visit him.
Right.
And there's only 12 people who are allowed to be on the list at any one time. Right. And you may recall that, which I won't go into too much detail about, that Steven and Sandra had asked me a couple of months ago, I think it is now, to create a trust for Steven.
Right.
And in order to be able to speak with Steven privately, I guess, and also directly, it was important that I be able to visit him. So we went through the process of getting myself on his visitors list, which I feel very privileged to have been able to be placed there. And that was only finally approved just 4 or 5 days ago. So, so I went down yesterday to War Pond. It's about, let me see, it's from Manitowoc. It's probably about 2 hours away. Mm-hmm. And I took down some precious cargo yesterday for the first visit, and that was Steve's mum, Dolores, and Steve's niece, Kayla.
Yeah,
most people would know, of course, and also Sandra. So we drove down to War Pond yesterday.
I gotta say, when I was in Manitowoc last year, watching Kayla and Dolores interact with each other was just brilliant. I mean, those two, you know, it's just like they love each other so much, and the way that they are just like, the way they interact with each other is just like, oh my God, those two are just like cute together. They're funny. I remember I was just very amused watching those two interact with each other last year at rally time. So, you know, I just thought I'd mention that because they are, you know, Kayla really loves Dolores, and the feeling is definitely mutual, going both ways. And it shows when you see those two.
Yeah, Kayla is just unbelievably wonderful support for Dolores. She's because Kayla's only a young woman herself. I think she's 27. I think maybe 27, and she's Earl's daughter, Stephen's youngest brother, Earl. Kayla is his daughter, one of his daughters, and yeah, her Dolores are great friends, and she's a wonderful support. And yeah, gee whiz, she's Kayla. I'll mention, I'm sure no one will mind me saying this, that Dolores looks unbelievably well and happy, and she's had a few health issues in recent times, and obviously she's an elderly lady, but she looked great. She was happy. She was keen.
That's
She
awesome.
was excited about seeing Stephen. She'd seen him actually for the first few days before, and now she'd seen him to see him the second time within as many days was a great delight for her, and equally delightful for Steve. So it was a great trip to go down there. It's a bit of a hike. So and
Is there a lot of steps that you guys have to go to see Stephen?
it's not too bad. They into sort of a greeting area, and you produce ID and go through detectors, and there's a lot of other people visiting, of course, so you have to wait your turn. And once that's done, which was the visiting area in terms of the staff there were nice, and it's very nice and clean and tidy, and very very respectful place. And then you go through a couple of secured door areas, and you're in what I would best describe as a big sort of cafeteria style area, where it's a big open area,
Right.
where there are lots of little low tables, like little coffee tables and chairs, plastic chairs, and you're designated by the staff a certain table, and you sit down, and then shortly thereafter, Stephen came in, and he sits down with us, and obviously it's a contact visit, so you can hug him and do whatever.
Right.
You're not separated.
By glass, right?
No, not at all. They do have that type of contact facility there behind the glass, but I suspect that's probably for prisoners that have probably breached some rules in the past, or but Stephen's regarded as a model prisoner. He's always done the right thing. He's never got himself into trouble, and which kind of doesn't surprise us, of course, but makes it even more poignant that he's in there. I did want to say right at the for me, I've never been inside an actually working prison before, so that was a little bit kind of surreal for me. And you're in this big room with lots of families and other inmates, and you see them all sitting there hugging each other and interacting, and it makes you value your freedom. Let me tell you that. And
yeah, I imagine.
So that was, at one point in time, I guess there could have been up to people in that room, but it's really nice. It's broken into two sections. One is where we all sit, which is a big room, and then just slightly behind there, in another open room, which you can see through, they have an area that's full of vending machines where you can go and buy snacks and sodas and things for your loved ones. And so it was good. And obviously to meet Stephen for the first time was like, jumping out of a storybook, because this gentleman is and was always something I'd always observed rather than known. And he was exactly how I expected he would be. Just a very friendly, cheery, loves his family to death. He's very supportive. I won't go too much into any personal conversation, but his total focus was on those around him, who, especially his mum and Kayla and Sandra, who he loves and cares about very dearly. And he's a very, very wise man, amazingly wise for the circumstances he's had to endure over the last, what is it now, 31 years, I think he's been in prison. So
and he's got another case falling apart, another case to him falling apart. So
he knows a lot about the cases. You might think that's an odd thing to say in a way, but you need to remember any of the gentlemen in the prison there, they have limited communication ability. They have obviously some. They can phone people and they listen to television and radio, and speak to their representatives, but they don't have access to social media or all that sort of stuff. So they have limited access to the information that we might know. But he does know about everything about the current circumstances. He's obviously keen, to state the obvious. He's keen to get out, but he's a very wise man. He's a very wise man. He's the sort of fellow you'd like to have as your mate. He's always got a laugh. Like he listens intently to what you have to say and what people say, and he has an opinion, but he's also got this cheeky laugh that which reveals the spirit of Stephen, who's just a good all round guy.
I remember when they handed me the phone last year at Rowley, and they're like, "Hey, it's Stephen," and I'm like, and I go, "Hi," and it's like he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And I go, "So how's it going over there?" And he's like, he basically said something like, "Oh, well, it's prison or whatever."
What do you say?
He goes, "I work in the kitchen or whatever," or something. He said something along the lines, letting me know he worked in the kitchen. I go, "Oh, so then you got all the good food, right? You got all the good stuff, right?" And so he laughs at me, and he's like, "Oh no, they keep a tight lid on that stuff here." It was really funny, but he's a pretty jovial guy. It was, especially for being where he is, he was, pretty friendly.
Yeah, I know. Like he is. He's very friendly. He's very, very balanced, and so I instantly felt comfortable there with him. And as I said, he's a very good listener. He listens intently to what you have to say, and has opinions about things, considered opinions, not crazy opinions. And it was just it was an honor to be with him, and to be with him with his mum and Sandra and Kayla was really nice, because I got to see how they interacted together as a group, which is kind of a bit of a privilege. I felt very fortunate that I was in that company at the time. And so you get to hear his interaction with people that he loves, not just me, who's a bit of a stranger. But the prison was very well run in terms of what I saw as a visitor. I obviously don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but in terms of as a visitor, it was very well run. Everyone was very and so it was good. Yeah.
So I assume there was. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say to you, I did make sure I asked both Dolores on the way down in the car, and also I was there. I asked them about, I talked to them about the level of support all over the world, because they don't really know that, right? We think they do, but they don't. They know that there's massive support, but they don't really have a sense of it. So to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak,
right? The Aussie on their doorstep, right?
Yeah, and on the way down, I couldn't understand why in a moment, but I said to you mentioned Stacey Seabrook at the start of this show. I said to Dolores, "Have you heard of a guy called Stacey Seabrook?" And she says, no, as Dolores would say. And I said, "Well, he's a guy from Canada, a young man from Canada who writes songs and about your family and the whole story." And I had my phone with me, obviously, and so I played them to her. The first song I played was Mum and Pa
Avery,
which was sort of she'd never music before, so she was quite touched by that. And I told Stephen the same. Obviously, I can't to take anything in with you when you're a visitor, so I couldn't play the music. I told him the same, and he wasn't aware of Stacey's music until I told him. So he was pretty, taken by that as well. And then I started talking about people like and all the other great, public commentators and the support around the world, and he's very touched by all of that.
Mm-hmm. So never mind me. Did you mention the Mad Scotsman?
Oh God. I think the mention of him would be contraband straight away. I'd be thrown out. Yeah. How do you explain him? I mean, really, I only had a few hours. It takes much longer.
Right. Well, I imagine you were there with other people too, so it wasn't like you were,
Yeah. I mean,
weren't able
there
to
was kind of like that's right, and the conversation, the family side of the conversation, which for me was the most important thing, to allow the family to say what they wanted to say to Stephen, and I knew I would be visiting him again, so I'd save a lot of the stuff I might want to talk to him about until then. So, but we had a chat about a few things. So, yeah.
That's pretty cool. And by the way, this is hilarious. When I posted about this on Facebook, I encouraged people to call you the Hod, similar to the way that Hasselhoff goes by the Hoff. And it looks like it's catching on, because there's a lot of people in the chat calling you the Hod.
Oh God. Well, I could think of worse ones, so I'll go with that.
Hey, well, hey, Hasselhoff was pretty well liked,
Yeah. Wasn't he? Was he the? I remember him. What was the name of that other show he was in?
Knight Rider was the one that made him famous.
Right. Yeah,
and then he was on Baywatch.
Oh yeah, there you go. I'll take that role. So
you take that role.
Yeah.
All right, so there we go, folks. He's on board. The Hod.
The Hod.
That's what we're gonna call him now.
I was called Hoddy at school. That was my standard nickname. So.
The Mad Scotsman asks, "Did you ask Stephen how the tunnel is coming along?"
Oh God, I don't think we should even joke about that, right? So.
Well,
yeah.
It's the Mad Scotsman. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I know. What time is it there? It must be midnight or something in his part of the world, or I don't know. No,
about midday for him.
Oh, that's right. That's right, because I'm here, not in Australia. So
yeah.
Well, anyway, it'd be any hour.
Around, huh?
Any hour would be drinking hour for him. So,
it's always beer 30 in Scotland. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So hilarious. And by the way, just while I remember, there's lots of thoughts running through my head. Stephen looked very well, by the way, health-wise, considering what living in a prison environment is challenging enough. But he looked very well, and so that was nice to see. He looks a lot better, by the way, than those photos you see in as you did on Facebook from prison that are taken.
Right.
They're taken by one of the fellows. They're actually an inmate. Just takes photos on a little digital picture, and somewhere while you're there, converts them into a printed form. But he looks a lot better than those photos would generally show. So so yeah, he's good.
Why don't we show everybody that real quick? Hold on a second.
I actually have an individual photo. There was an individual photo taken of Stephen and I. I guess Sandra hasn't posted that one, but that was a group photo, the one you saw. So.
Okay. So I'm going to show you guys two different pictures here. Really. Let me do my screen share. Okay, so this is from the Facebook post. This here is Marky Mark here, the Hod, as we now know him, with Stephen here.
Oh yeah, there I am.
Yep. So that's one of them here, and then there's also another one that's a group photo. Let me bring that one up. And so there you go. You got the Hod. You got Kayla. You got.
Take me a while to get used to that.
Dolores. Stephen, obviously, and then Sandra. So
yeah.
Obviously, this is our guy right here, the Hod.
Yeah, just snuck in the side. I'd had to dust the dirt off the tunnel before I got in, so I looked a bit respectable. So, yeah.
Oh, that is the pictures that surfaced on Facebook last night that had me going, dude, I know that guy. Anyway.
Well, just to add a little bit to the day, when we finished visiting, which was about 6:30 p.m. local time, it's dark here then, and they had forecast a bit of a snowstorm last night for later in the night. But when we got outside the prison, it was belting down snow, seriously belting snow, and windy. And so I'm the driver, right? Just fortunately, I'm home now, so I can tell the story happily. So and in Australia, we drive on the other side of the road, and the steering wheel's on the other side of the car.
Right.
So I'm not sure that I was the best driver to drive, but it was my rental, so I had to drive it. And yeah, so seriously, as I said, the weather was just atrocious driving home, and so much so, what would have normally been about a 2-hour drive turned into a 4-hour drive, and because it couldn't really go any faster than about 25 miles per hour. Because you couldn't see the road. I mean, you couldn't see any markings on the road. You just had to rely on the wheel tracks in front of you.
Right.
And I had, as I said, precious cargo on board in Dolores and Santa and Kayla.
Yeah.
And it was just horrific. I've never driven in anything like that at all.
Yeah.
And but anyway, we eventually got home. It was quite late by the time I think by the time I got into Manitowoc, it was about quarter to 11:30, quarter to 11. So
yeah, it was pretty late.
Day.
Really responded to me, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's right. So it was anyway. It was all part of the adventure, and I feel very honoured that I got an opportunity to meet him. So
Paul Miller asks, did you get a chance to meet with Pa?
Not yet. I will be later next week on Friday.
Okay.
I think the plan is to go up to Alan or Pa goes up to Crivets, which is a holiday cabin up in the woods about 2 hours north. He typically goes up on, I think, Thursday nights or Fridays and comes back Monday nights. Right. And so I'll be going up there on Friday, I think the plan is. So I'll report more. I might try to get Alan, if he's okay with it, to at least say a few words. Alan, as I think I might have mentioned to you in another little presentation, Alan's very hard of hearing, so
yes,
you got to be right up next to him and talk to him right next to his ear. But right. He's a really engaging man, so I'll try to get him to say a few words if he's comfortable with that. So
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Because and well, maybe we'll line up for another chat then. And everything. So. Because everybody, I don't know where Travis Williamson is. I guess maybe it might be too early on Sunday morning, even in Texas. But
he'll be out rustling. He loves
to hear about Pa and Ma. He loves to hear about Ma and Pa Avery, and he likes to. He digs that. So surprised we haven't seen him yet. But that stuff, people love to hear about it.
Yeah. And as I said, Dolores is looks really, really well, which is.
I'm glad. She just had a knee replacement recently, I remember. So It's really good that's going well, and she's not having a bunch of issues with that. And that's really good to hear.
Yeah.
How tall is the Hod?
I'm just you could say 6 foot. I'm 5'11" and a half, or in metric 182 centimeters. So.
There you go.
Sounds taller if I'm 182, right? So Stephen, as you can see from the photo, is only a shorty. So
yeah, oh yeah, Stephen's kind of short. Yeah, Travis hasn't poked his head in. Love to hear about them too. Yeah, see, lots of people love to hear about Ma and Pa. You can't help but love Ma and Pa. I first of all, I think Dolores is awesome. From what I got to see of her when I was there at Raleigh last year, especially like I said, seeing her and Kayla interact with each other is just freaking hilarious. It's awesome. The one particular thing I remember is when Kayla was opening up the coffee cups that you had brought, and she was opening them up, and like the coffee cup had like this little kangaroo on it or something that was, I guess, just like totally adorable. And you just see Kayla going, "Oh, look at it!" And she's like showing Dolores, both like, and it's just like they're both just hilarious. It was just so funny to watch those two interact with each other. But But also I missed Pa. I really
Yeah,
wanted
me
to meet
too.
Pa. That was the one thing I was so looking forward to, is meeting Pa Avery, and everybody's like, oh, he's up in Crivets. I was like, take it. Yeah, so you're a lucky dog, you
He,
get to meet him.
yeah, well, as I went back the time and I got to meet him, it was just amazing. He's
Yeah.
such a fascinating man and very engaging and very happy to meet. Well, he and I got on very well, and I went up there with Sandra when I did go up there, and Sandra hadn't been to Crivets before, so he regards Sandra like a daughter. So he was just absolutely over the moon that she was there. So
Awesome.
it's nice. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we got a question here. Fence Sereno, as like the third time I've seen it. Did you talk to Brendan?
No, I haven't spoken to Brendan. But I won't actually be seeing Brendan firsthand like I did Stephen,
Right.
because there's a process to that, and I'm not going to interject myself there. But I will be spending some time with Pete Dassey, and there's a good chance we will next weekend, which is the day before I go home. I will be, like I did last time, driving down to Columbia Correctional, which is in Portage. I'll drive with Pete down there, and that's a chance for me to chat to him in the car and on the way down and way back. I haven't spoken to him. I may get to. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, so the best I can answer that for you, Fence Sereno, is I did get to talk to Brendan briefly last year at Raleigh. It was very briefly, because the phone was getting passed around pretty much like every 30 seconds, because there were so many people there, and they were trying to allow Brendan to everybody a chance to speak with Brendan at least briefly. But so I got to talk with Brendan briefly. He was happy. He was he was kind of laughing and joking around, and he may have been on a little bit of a high talking to all these various people that, were at the rally. And he may have been, on a bit of a kind of a rush of realizing how many people out there support him. And anyway, he was very happy and seemed healthy and stuff like that. That's the last time that I've talked to Brendan. Um, I don't have a direct line to Brendan. I obviously can talk to to his mom, Barb, anytime I want. But it's it's not easy to talk to Brendan. I'll put it that way. So you got to go through the right channels, and like Mark is saying, and if getting on Brendan's list is number one. You have to obviously be in the good graces of Brendan and his mother, Barb, and you also have to go through all the song and dance that it takes to get on somebody's visiting list in prison, which is not something that happens overnight. Ever.
No, that's right. No. Plus, when you're on a visiting list, you're on there for 6 months, and so they're not allowed to, even if the total number of places are full, they can't keep rotating them like one on, one off every. There becomes a point where the list stabilizes until someone might leave the list and then a vacancy becomes available. So,
right,
yeah.
Right.
And when you have big families, obviously, as they do, clearly the great majority of the people on the list are family. So for all the right reasons. So
absolutely, yeah, obviously,
yeah.
So, anything else about your visit with Stephen? Anything obviously non-personal, maybe that what you talked about with him that the folks might be interested in hearing?
Well,
Get to ask him, like,
yeah.
I don't know what the food's like there, or
Well, yeah, not really. I didn't ask him so much about what the food was like that he has. I did actually ask him a question about what was a typical day like there. So, when he got up in the morning, and he's in a room on his own, which he's lucky to have that, and he's very busy with dealing with matters to do with his case and writing and replying to people who write to him. He's a very active, mentally and intelligence-wise, very active man. They have. I said, Steve, tell me, just describe this typical day. And he said, oh well, they don't actually have a big. I had this vision of some big open dining area, but they don't. They bring all their meals to their rooms, right? So they're all handed to them personally, and they have all their stuff in their room. And they have breakfast. I don't know, let's say 6:30 or 7, and they have lunch at 10 in the morning, and dinner, what I call dinner or supper,
it's like 5
or 3 or 4 in the afternoon, right?
Really?
Oh my God, you know, you really do have a break from a breakfast gap there, quite a long one.
Yeah.
From there to, but anyway, yeah, I guess
they're trying to get all the meals in before the guards go home for their shift. I guess I don't know.
I don't know.
Odd.
I'm not sure
what. Only here till 4. Better get dinner out now.
That's right. So I suppose the only other thing I could mention, which we all already know, is that he's very anxious to see the filing from KC, which I think is Monday, tomorrow.
Oh yeah, that's waiting on you.
So he's well across all the issues associated with all that stuff. So
Travis and I, and possibly Tracy Strunsey, will be covering that as soon as that happens. We are trying to involve Tracy, but Tracy's on a bit of a hiatus right now, folks. So that may not happen. We'll have to see. We got some juice with Tracy. She may come out of hiatus to talk with us about this motion real quick.
Yeah. So anyway, as I think I've said already in this discussion, I will be seeing Stephen again tomorrow, and have a chat to him about a number of things. And within the realm of that, I know everyone understands, within the realm of privacy, I'm more than happy to have a chat with you again later on if you want to. And I don't want to obviously, disclose stuff that I shouldn't or that's personal, but hopefully
just make sure you have a lot of questions ready for Stephen that the answers would be friendly basically or able to be shared.
Yeah, and
obviously you're gonna have some questions you'll ask maybe that you can't share, but have a bunch of general throwaway questions that the answers will be generally mild on that you can share.
Yeah, and Stephen's very open. He as a general principle, I know he wouldn't have any objection to me or anyone talking about him, within the realm of what's fair and not too personal. So, yeah.
Right. So.
Oh, by the way, I can't see, because I'm speaking to you using my phone. I can't see the questions from the people dialed in there. So if you think I'm ignoring questions, my apologies. I can't see them. So I'm relying on you to be the
right.
leader.
I think I've been hitting most of them. Let's see here. Let me just kind of take a closer look here for a second. Any updates on Stephen being able to get his mail? So Stephen's getting his mail again? Is that?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, I'm not aware there's any problem there.
Okay.
They do have restrictions on. I know this from Sandra, that they do have restrictions on the amount of letters he can have at any one time. And because Stephen gets so many letters, they allowed him sort of special dispensation about that, because basically when letters come in, he responds to them, and then after he's done that, the documents themselves are then shipped out to family. I think they go to. I forget who keeps them, but there's only so much stuff that he can keep in his room. So
right.
Yeah. But he has a special dispensation about the volume because of the level of correspondence he does get. Yeah.
I don't know if this came up. Is Stephen aware that Chris Watts is in the same prison he is? I don't know if this came up.
I don't, forgive my ignorance, I don't even know who Chris Watts is.
He's a a douchebag who killed a mom and her 2 daughters and stuff. But I don't know a whole lot about the case. But
Is he a Wisconsin person?
he's in Wisconsin. Yeah, he's in Waupun right now.
Because I do.
Big talk about it recently.
No. There's a second prison in Waupun called Dodge. He might be there. There's two prisons there. So
I know Perplexed has been covering it over on her channel, and as far as I can tell, they've traced it to where he's at the same prison as Stephen. This is Sean Gerhardsen asking.
If it's the same issue that was being thrown around a couple of weeks ago, I'm pretty sure that he's in the second Waupun prison, just nearby. Like it's just blocks away.
Okay.
It's called Dodge, as far as I'm aware. So, but no, I didn't raise that. He didn't raise it. I wouldn't have. He wasn't. That issue wasn't on my mind anyway. So. Yeah,
it's saying CW is in the same city but a different prison. So Fencerino is basically saying what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Brennan. Let's see here. The Hot is not ignoring our questions. No, he's not. I'm trying to get those questions to him now, guys. Ask him if he's ready to take this on. It must be hard to think of that. Ask him if he is ready to take this on. It must be hard to think of that. I'm not sure what that's asking, really.
Yeah, he might ask a second time. I'm not sure either what.
Yeah, try that again, Linda. I think maybe if you clarify that just a little bit. Don't get me started on Chris Watts. Okay. Also, you have Muslims and other religions which have specific eating schedule time before dusk and dawn, etc. So chow is difficult to get done. Ex-prison guard is why I know. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All the various religious and things. Yeah, okay. I could see that being an issue. Certainly.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, the trial, is he ready? Oh, meaning is he ready for a new trial? Oh, yeah. You think Steven's ready for a new trial, Mark? I mean, obviously, it hasn't been ordered yet, but is he ready for it? I would say, sure. I would say he's probably chomping at the bit.
Wouldn't be. I mean, if you get a chance to get your freedom back, of course he's ready. Yep. So.
LL Gray says, you guys are so selfless, amazing to me. Definitely restores my faith. A little more knowing there are still good people in this world and it's not all bad. Thank you. That means everything to me. Well, thank you so much, LL Grace.
Nice comment.
Yes. Yeah. Obviously, Mark is obviously doing a lot of things that he's a very, very devout supporter. But I'll tell you what, he doesn't look for the recognition. I think he only kind of reluctantly comes on my show because he likes me.
Yeah, how does that work? And it's also a channel to dish some crap on the Mad Scotsman. So
there you go. Obviously, yeah. Never ever forget to dish a little bit of crap at the Mad Scotsman, dude. Let's see. Hey, Sharkbait, is Steve aware of the Big Lebowski? Oh,
I'd say not.
Aldi asking. He's saying, hey, Sharkbait, is Steven aware of Lebowski?
No.
I was going to ask you about movies.
I was going to try to explain to him about the Havering Scotsman, but it's just too complicated, right?
Yeah, with Dolores and everybody else there, I can imagine. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Let's see what do we got. Prison and concessions. Stephen and Chris wouldn't be in the same place either. You don't want to know Chris Watts guilty. Let's see here. In lockdown. Yeah, Chris Watts is in Dodge, just like you were saying. Midwest folks eat like hobbits. Well,
what does that mean?
That means there should have been like 12 meals. My gosh. No, I don't think his confession's legit. More about Chris here. Hold on. He killed his pregnant wife and 2 daughters, putting them in an oil tank.
Oh,
Yeah, he's a bad dude. He's not a good guy. Police audio tapes came out recently detailing the murders that day. Let's see, suddenly we got to talking about Chris Watts here.
yeah.
Let's see. True, he can't be in gym. Okay, has Barb still had everyone taken off Brendan visitors list? I don't know. I don't know the status of Brendan's visitors list. I know that Barb is very particular about, who kind of is on it and gets access to Brendan.
Brent, best I know, and I wouldn't at all profess to be, in the know about all of this stuff, but as far as I'm aware, that Brendan has a very appropriate, healthy mix of family and close friends, and Barb is mum, and she's obviously protective of him, so that makes sense to me. So
yeah, absolutely.
And he's well-adjusted young man.
I just try to throw that out there for people to know. Yeah, it's I don't think he's at a lack of people on his list. He gets people to visit him, and his mom wants him to be able to get visitors because that's really the highlight of his day in there and everything. Yeah. But also, to be perfectly honest, she's also very protective of Brendan. So yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Jerome Fout says he can't hear anything. Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Let's see. Has Barb still had every okay. The Hod said that Stephen was looking forward to Zellner's filing on Monday. Yeah, he did.
Yes.
Let's see here. Make sure it's Brendan was a pawn. If that was the case, maybe doing what Scott and Bobby said too. Yeah, on the fence is kind of entertaining a theory at the moment. Like if Brendan could have been involved, I don't agree with that at all because I just listening to Brendan talk, I know that's not true.
No, it's not true.
The prison is called Dodge. I mean, after all these years, it must seem untouchable at times. Let's see here. I hate it when this thing jumps. True gentleman equals Mark. Michelle Sanders is saying you are a true gentleman, my friend.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. That's very kind of you. Mind you, comparing me to the Scotsman, I'm obviously perfect, right? So
yeah, there you go. He's not the havering Hoddinott. He's not the havering Hod.
No, that's
Could you go? See, Paul, could you go on Mr. Earth Alive? Okay, let's see here. I listened to all the recent interview where he told the truth. It was very disturbing. Wouldn't recommend. Erekose, could you say hi to Mark from the French crew? Jerome from the French crew, who's working on translating my videos to French, says hi to you, Mark. Hod.
Bonjour, Jerome.
There you go.
Thank you. Merci.
Much respect from England. I listen to your videos as much as I can. You're doing an incredible job with the Avery case and keeping people talking. Because you keep up the good, you legend. Well, thank you so much, Jay Humphreys. I appreciate that. But it helps to have so many great people around me, like Mark and Mr. Capaldi and the Wrecking Crew, and those people who are, focused on doing what's right for Stephen and Brennan and bringing more attention to Stephen Brennan. And so I can say that, I may seem like a legend, but it makes it a lot easier when I have a bunch of people on my side, like Mark and Paul and the Wrecking Crew, and other people too, who I'm failing to mention, that help me, that make this all possible, really, in a lot of ways. So as much as I would like to take the credit myself, the credit goes around to a lot of different places. So
I think I see this as just a statement of a whole world of people saying what's gone on here is just wrong. We're just standing up for what's right. and its impact is a collective impact. Obviously, we have a number of key people who are leading the voice, such as yourself, but the collective, it's the collective energy that gives you, as you say, gives you the power to make these statements and make the word be known. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm all about trying to educate people and get the knowledge out there and get the the facts out there, because I think I've made it pretty darn clear that the state's claims that Zellner is delaying this appeal are ridiculous. And I mean, just beyond ridiculous. Okay. It's not Zellner that's playing games here. It's not Zellner holding on to CDs in her own personal custody for 12 years and then handing it to herself after the motion for post-conviction relief was denied, instead of handing it to her before so that it could be part of the motion for post-conviction relief. They wait till it's denied and she's in the appeals process to suddenly hand it over. I mean, every single thing you see from the state in this, it just shows their disingenuousness, how disingenuous they are, and how, just not on the up and up, So Jocelyn is asking me to ask you this.
Yeah.
I'm going to warn you, Jocelyn, he may not like this question. So can you ask Mark if he thinks Barb knows more? I would also like to know what you think. So I believe that's in terms of, I think you know what that's in reference to, right?
Yes. Look, I'm not at all into speculation, so I won't. To me, it's not a question that I have an answer for, because I don't get engaged in speculation. I deal with the facts, and I think it's really, whilst understandable, because we're all curious and interested to get the truth here, I think it doesn't serve anything any good to speculate about people, and potentially, maybe not intentionally, but potentially taking away someone's presumption of innocence is something I'm very, very protective of. And I clearly don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Factually. So if I don't know, I don't like to speculate, because I think it's unfair.
And I essentially feel the same way. I don't have anything that really that shows me concretely that there's something untoward going on.
Yes.
I get some people drawing connections and stuff, and I'm not here to tell anybody they're wrong or right. I'm just personally saying I would need something a lot more solid to go down that road. Barb is Brendan's mom. In a lot of ways, she is the center of his universe, is particularly right now while he's in prison. She is the center of his universe. He looks to her in many ways. And so I'm, I need to see something a lot more concrete than what people are kind of offering when it comes to this particular question.
I mean, all you need to do is to put, all we all need to do is put ourselves in the same position as Barb, being a mother of us who has a son in prison. Barbara's, I can tell everyone without any shadow of a doubt, Barbara is a wonderful mother and a good person. Okay. Beyond that, I don't have a view about any of the other speculation, because that's all it is. And I could speculate about dozens of people in this matter. And that I just don't believe that that's the right thing to do. We've already seen the pain and suffering that's come from someone's presumption of innocence taken away. And I think we all need to hold that principle really high.
Yeah. Let's see. Jerome a lot says we love you guys. Erekose. Okay. On the fence says I look like Ron Jeremy. I'm gonna move on past that. I'm not sure what the hell to think of that. Anyway. Get Out of Dodge comes from the movie Smoke. Yeah, Get Out of Dodge. Right. Yeah. You're making tracks, getting out of there before the trouble hits. Absolutely. We're not going to accuse Barb of anything here. Absolutely, Ali. Caden, she was in court that day. A fact that Bert and Ernie no doubt knew and planned for. Absolutely. That's an excellent point. People, the state has continuously said Barb, and they continue to say it to this day. Barb had every opportunity to be there. No, she didn't. She was in
straight lie
that day
a straight lie
or 2:30. Okay,
yeah.
She was not around or available. That is another disingenuous lie from the state.
Yeah, it is. Can't call it anything other than that. It's a straight lie.
What is Kathleen filing tomorrow? Miss something? Jamie O'Brien. So recently, there's been a lot of filings going on with the Court of Appeals. Well, recently, Kathleen Zellner filed a motion to remand the issue of the bones being given back to the hall box and the investigation reports and investigation ledgers of the chain of custody that were not turned over to Stephen's appellate attorneys at the time that they gave these things back. This has all now been remanded back to the circuit court from the Court of Appeals. So what we're waiting for on Monday is the motion that Zellner has been ordered to file with the circuit court by the Court of Appeals. Now, because they've now, like I said, remanded it from the Court of Appeals back to the circuit court for fact finding on the issue of the bones and the potential due process violation and all that sort of stuff. So that's what's happening on Monday. I encourage you to go back and watch like my last 5 videos. I go into extreme depth on this particular topic about what's going on right now with the current situation with these bones and then being given back to the hall box and the potential due process violation. I try to go over all that stuff. So I encourage you to kind of just, after this video today, go back and check out my last 2, 3, 4 videos. And I go in pretty deep on this particular topic. So you should be able to get your answers, to those questions. Okay. I definitely get that for sure. Let's see here. Casey is filing with the circuit court. Yes. Make sure you're subscribed. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't want to accuse her also of anything. I'm just curious. I'm just on the fence. It has to do with Todd. Todd. I don't know who Todd is. All right. Talking about or accusing. Okay. Excuse my ignorance. How does this gentleman know Stephen, or how is he associated with this case? Sorry, I'm a relative newbie to this cause and useless at remembering names. So, Viv, this is Mark Hoddinott. He's not related to the family, but he's a pretty great guy, and just like me and Mr. Capaldi and a lot of Stephen's family in Manitowoc, they like him a great deal, and so they got him on. They all worked together to get him onto Stephen's visitors list so that he would be able to go and visit. Do you want to talk a little bit about this, Mark? You want to field that question?
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm just a everyday Joe who has a passion for justice in this matter, and I also have a set of life circumstances where I do a lot of travel, and my work enables me to do that. And over the course of the last, I'm not sure how long it's been now, but I've become, familiar with the family and familiar and close to the family, and as I said a little earlier, that through Sandra Greenman, I was asked to set up a trust for Stephen, and so my involvement has become progressively engaged with them, and they asked me, would I come on to the list? I didn't ask to go on to Stephen's list. They asked me, would I come on, because Stephen wanted me to come on. And so I said, of course I will. I'll be honored to become on the list. And so has just evolved over, I guess mostly over a year or so. So, yeah.
Right. All right. So Sean Gerhardsen has the cutting question here.
All right.
Do Australian people think that people in the United States have really cool accents?
Oh God. I don't know. I mean, that's the word "cool." I mean, accents. I guess. Yeah, I guess so. Every accent, I find every accent interesting. So I don't know whether I refer to them as cool or not. But and of course, in the United States, there's so many accents. It's like in Britain, depending what part of the country you're in. You can, from the deep south to the west coast to the Boston or wherever, there's accents all over the place. That's not so true in Australia. There's a few little subtle differences. In the UK, there are many accents, of course. So I guess we do think they're cool, but probably think that's true of most accents.
Right. Ali asks for Mark, did watching Making a Murderer get you involved helping Stephen? You have such an amazing passion for the innocent. Have you been involved in other cases? Also, it's 3:30. It's also 3:30 a.m. here in Oz. Jet lag?
Yeah. Well, it's I don't even actually have my watch on at the moment. I'm not sure what time it is right at the moment here in Manitowoc. By the way, just to give my evidentiary hearing, here's the local tourist magazine. So, so I'm here. Yes, to answer the question, Ali, I first became involved nearly 2 years ago because my daughter, who was then living and working in London, and I was visiting, said, "Dad, you've got to watch this series called Making a Murderer." I hadn't even been a subscriber to Netflix until then, and sat down with her and watched a few episodes, and then downloaded. I joined Netflix, downloaded the rest of them to my phone, which you can do, and I watched the remainder of the series on the plane on the way back to Australia, and 13 watches of that first series since then. So yeah. I haven't been involved in something like this before, certainly not at this level. I've certainly had passions for other cases in the past, but nothing like this. And I'm sure it's true for everyone here that this matter is so confronting to our sense of fairness and fair play that you just can't walk away from it. It's too real and too could have been me type situation. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So hello, Miss Struncy. I see you there in the chat. Hit me up on Messenger later if you might be interested in going on with Travis and I tomorrow regarding the motion if it gets filed tomorrow. Let me, give me a ring on Messenger. Let me know how you feel about that. Sorry, Mark. She just appeared in the chat, so I thought I'd take that opportunity.
Hi, Tracy. Hope you're well.
Let's see. I think it's cool is more of an. I think cool is more of an American word anyway, right? So I guess you don't appreciate cool because you're Australian, right?
No. We use it. We use it a lot. I use it a lot.
Yeah.
So it's cool is a cool word, right?
There you go. All right. Let's see. It's funny how every American thinks everyone else has an accent, but they don't. Dude, are you kidding? She's not here right now, but Sharon Sunshine Young, I freaking love it when she sends me voice messages on Messenger. Oh my God. Her Scottish accent is just the best. I freaking love it. She just the way she talks and just her whole mannerisms and the way that she speaks with that Scottish accent. I love her. Every time I get a voice message from her, I'm like, oh, dude. So, and it doesn't happen very often because she prefers to type, but when I do get a voice message from her, it's awesome. I just totally love that Scottish accent. It's great. All right, here we go. Let's see here. Some people know I'm from Oregon. Let's see here. Love thick accents. I'm so taken by the heart. I mean, it is so very, very heart filling to know just how many great people are still in the world after seeing this, other crazy things in the world. Right. Yeah, guys like Mark, and guys, people like the Wrecking Crew, people that are taking an interest in giving of themselves with no real expectations of getting anything in return. Yeah, those are the people that are doing the Lord's work, as they say.
Yeah, gee whiz. I mean, in the last year or two, especially in the last year, I'm not a young guy, by the way, that's pretty obvious, but the number of new friends I've accumulated, um, and who have enriched my life by virtue of that association has been fabulous. It's like a another beginning, and it does make you feel good that there are so many wonderful people across the globe, and it's one of the unexpected and enjoyment aspects of being involved in this matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And and hopefully, you know, folks like me, folks like Rubber Ducky, folks like Purple who are out there creating communities for people to come together and talk about these things and keep them in the forefront and keep them talked about. That's what we need to continue to do. And
Uh,
you know,
it's absolutely essential. People always need to remember that they own these processes, and they own it through their democratic right to vote, and they need to exercise that vote with knowledge, so that they're voting thoughtfully, and that knowledge is enhanced and compounded by programs like this and all the other YouTubers out there who do things and speak about stuff. These, the, this is our game. We need to be in control of it, and far too often there's been this attitude or malaise that said, "Oh, well, that's for someone else to take care of."
yeah, they
Um,
call that apathy.
Absolutely, and you end up getting this situation. You get this situation where I've said it 1,000 times. I'll say it one more time. You have elected officials being elected by only serving about 25% of the population at best, because if people don't get out there and vote, those people who are running for office, whether it's high office or a local county matter, um, they don't have to worry about everyone else. They just worry about their mates who vote for them. And
Right.
and so this thing that you're doing and others, but particularly you, because of how prolific you are at this, is all about getting people informed. And even if many of the listeners are from other countries, of course, and they take back this knowledge, they take back this passion and say, hang on, I've got a role to play in justice and in democracy. And that role is to be thoughtful and to go out and exercise my obligation I call it an obligation to go out and vote. And
Yeah.
and you'll get a better society for it, for not just for yourself, but
And
for your
remember,
children
there's
and
a big election
grandchildren.
coming up in Wisconsin on the 2nd, by the way.
Yes, yes, for a Supreme Court judge in Wisconsin, right? This
Mm-hmm.
is a very, very important matter. People should get out and vote. And I would, particularly love to see the young people, the 18 to 40-year-olds, especially the younger ones, the 18 to 25 and 30-year-olds. These are the future. They're inheriting the future, not us. So um, there needs to be a new wave of ownership of democracy, and it's got to come from the young people. But it has to come from them thoughtfully, not just recklessly. Um, and this is our obligation, to be as informed as we can be on matters, and then bring that knowledge and passion to the ballot box. And that's one of the huge things that comes from this thing of the work you're doing. And I'm sure everyone on this chat would agree that they're much wiser and more thoughtful people as a result of participating.
Right. Okay. Well, I think we might go ahead and wrap it up for today.
Okay,
Obviously, I don't know if we'll do it. You're going to see Stephen tomorrow. I think depending on the filing tomorrow, uh, we might have to do our chat on Tuesday
no problem.
evening.
It
So
can be any time that suits yourself. Uh, so just let me know. That'll be fine.
I think I'm gonna try and play one more Stacy song on the way out.
Okay.
See if I can get to the acoustic playlist here.
Hey, by the way, can I just mention something?
Sure.
A good song for you to play that would be appropriate on a few levels. It's, of course, because of the mad havering Scotsman, the whole issue of the word havering came up because it's mentioned in a song called 500 Miles.
The Proclaimers.
Yeah. Well, they had another hit called I'm on My Way, right? And I know there's issues about copyright and playing things, but I think if you just paid 30 seconds of it, no one's going to jump on you. But one of the key lines in that is I'm on my way from liberty to happiness, right? That's one of the key lines in it. And I thought, and it's a really upbeat song. So if you go and find it and listen to it,
as long as it's under 5 seconds, I can get away with it, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll let you play with that, but it's just a thought. So,
yeah, absolutely. All right.
Or in the alternative, you could sing it yourself because I know how much we appreciate your singing.
Yeah. Everybody loves that. All right. Hello. Okay. Jerome, let's see. Also having a question for our friend Mark. Does Steven know David Bogatka? I don't think so.
I don't know.
What does Steven think of Dave's story? I don't think. Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay, I didn't
he
think
might.
so.
He might. I just don't know.
Yeah, sorry, Jerome, but Mark just doesn't know the answer to that question. Sorry. All right, guys, we're gonna play one more Dassey song. Linda's gonna be very happy about this one, and here it comes.
All the best, everyone. Take care.
Buffering.
He's innocent. The day always comes if you're innocent.
Truth Train.
Get on the train before it leaves the station. Wisconsin versus Avery, a complete fabrication. Get on the train before it leaves town. The truth train is coming, gonna run them down, run them down. And we all know Stephen and Brendan were blamed, but it does not take a brain surgeon to see that they were framed. And yes, we know what this was about. The civil suit, the settlement that did not want to pay out, want to pay out. And you may hear this song, or maybe you don't get it. I suggest you look up TikTok, Manitowoc on Reddit. There you will find trial transcripts, evidence files, and reports. And you will start to fathom the corruption within the courts. And as you shake your head, because everything seems demented, you will find yourself in company of three unbanked judges that dissented. But don't you worry, you're not going insane. You just happen to sit down on Zelna's True Train. Get on the train before it leaves the station. Final destination, inevitable exoneration. Get on the train before it leaves town. The truth train is coming, gonna run them down, run them down. Get on the train.
All right, folks. It's been a pleasure talking with Mr. Hoddinott today. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe. And any final thoughts, Mr. Hoddinott?
No, thanks very much.
I mean, the Hod. Sorry, the Hod.
The Hod. Yeah, no, thanks very much for having me on board. Definitely on the truth train, that's for sure. And glad to speak with you.
All righty. So that's
Take
about
care.
it for today, folks. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we will see you later. Oh, hit that like button, folks, on your way out. Hit that like button on your way out. Thank you.
Like.
Thank you.